Picking up attributes is a way for surveyors to add value to the surveys that they do and allowing them to show more within the survey data they provide. With the release of V26, users are able to set up, create and import all picked up survey attributes with ease. In this video, we'll be looking at a process for setting up a project database to manage the attribute data. A project database allows the user to store attribute data for your COGO points and survey strings, and includes schemas creating data tables and fields for storing attribute information. The first thing we want to do is to set up a schema ready to be imported. To do this, drop down this option here and we're going to select the Schema Editor. From the Schema Editor, we are able to look at any currently available schemas and do edits to them as needed. Breaking this down, the column name describes each field that is attached to this data table. The data type is the value that's currently being attached to it. In this case, integer would represent whole numbers, text would represent alpha characters, and numeric would influence a numeric value. The default value that you see here would be a default value that gets assigned to each of these fields upon attaching the attribute to a point or string. From here, you have the field validator, which does two different things. First, it creates a drop-down list allowing us to select between different options in a table, and it allows us to validate the data, confirming that it's a value that we expect it to be. In this circumstance, you can see that one has been applied to species, and if we open up the field validator editor found here, you'll see that we have two different fields available for us to be able to bring in, species and protected, and you can see the details listed on the right here, showing which values will be accepted by the software and which ones will be able to be selected using our drop-down. We can then go OK, and then OK again to save any changes made. We can now look at how we can automate the attachment of data tables to survey objects based on our point codes. This can be achieved by setting up table map. To do this, we're going to drop down this here and then go COGO points table map. That will open up the table map ready for us to edit. If we wish to create a new table map, we can go add table map and enter a name of our choosing. Once done, it'll load in, and if we currently have an attribute table added, we can drop down table here to see a currently added one. If you wish to load one in manually, you can go read tables from schema and navigate to where your schemas currently exist. Once that's done, you're going to want to append a code set of your choosing to this. So we're going to go append code set and then select one of the current code sets set up within the database. In this case, I'll be working with numeric, so I'll select numeric individual layers and go select. And you can see that table is now showing default, which is the first one in our drop-down list. A completed one will look something like this, where I'm selecting numeric. If we scroll down, we can see that a number of them have been updated to show tables containing fields relevant to the type of points being surveyed. With this, we have now set up our schema and table maps ready to be applied to our COGO points and survey strings within the project. What we need to do now is apply all of this information to the points and strings. Now go and drop down attribute data and select the setup project database ready to work with. If you drop down default schema here, you can see all the currently available schemas that get installed when you install V26 of Stringer. Now in this particular circumstance, I'll be working with basic schema, so I can select that option, and then we can confirm that our table map matches the code library we wish to use. In this case, I'm working with numerics, that is the one I'll use, but if we drop these down, you can see there is also an alpha one ready to go. If the points you have imported already have properties that line up with the attribute fields, and you're wishing for those properties to be used, make sure that this option here is toggled on, as it will copy the data from the point property to the data in the matching field. Once ready, select OK to apply all of these attributes to your points and lines. Once these have been applied, you are then able to go ahead and do a number of different things. First off, if we drop down attribute data, if you're wishing to edit a point or a string on an individual basis, simply select the one you wish to work with and select the point that you wish to edit. In this case, I'm editing this one here. I'm going to go enter, and that will open the table editor. One of the things that this is good for is if I wish to switch the table associated with that object, I can drop down the table and I can say, okay, this is meant to be an elect one, not a default. So I can select change table. You can see now it has different fields associated to it that I can then go ahead and do some entries for. If you wish to edit on a more global scale, you are able to drop down attribute data and go to table viewer. And from here, you are able to do edits on a more global scale. This allows you to edit things such as COGO point and survey string, allows you to switch between the different tables. In this case, let's say I want to edit tree, which has a few more values, and I'm able to filter the data as needed based on different fields. Now we can see that for each of the trees, I have already edited the fields attached to them. When you first attach object data to the points and survey strings to the project, default values will be applied. Following this, you can edit each field per point or string. Now you'll actually see here that a number of these fields have been highlighted in red. This is due to the field validation list that we set up earlier. Because there are values here that do not match what we had in the field validation list, they have been highlighted to allow the user to go ahead and do any edits. If you select any of these fields, you are able to go ahead and edit them as needed. And if you're selecting any that have a validated file against them, you are able to use that as a drop-down list to select a value that will be accepted by the field validation list. You are also able to do global edit as needed by highlighting points using either Control or Shift to be able to select multiple at a time, selecting override selected, and then entering a value of my choosing. Let's now explore some outputs that include your attributed data. First, let's look at creating a table of information. One way to achieve this is to copy the attributed data fields and apply them as point properties. From there, we can then create a table using these point properties. We can do this by dropping down COGO points table map here and selecting sync to COGO properties. This will sync all of the attributes we just set up onto the very points themselves. From here, we can then go into point groups, and then we can select the point group that we wish to work with. In this case, I'll be working with trees, and then we're going to use a custom property list to populate this here. So I'm going to toggle this on. I'm going to set up a custom property list. So we're going to select the browse icon to go looking for it, and you can see that we have a number of preset options ready to go. In this case, I'll be working with tree. You can see that we have species, protected, canopy, trunk, and height set here, and I can go apply. That now gets populated in. You can see that I've now got a variety of different fields as shown here, and from here I'm able to use a number of export options. In this case, let's look at creating a table. So I'm going to go output CAD table, select the location of it, and if we move this out of the way, we can see we have the comments, species, protected, and the canopy values all being shown here. Another common export method for users is export to GIS. This option allows users to export out GIS files ready for the end user. This will include 2 tables for each attribute, which will include a point table and a survey line table.